Ladies, gentlemen, and everybody in between, welcome to Series 4 of LEGO Wars. After months of waiting and a few fun specials along the way, it's finally time for the main series, and boy do we have an exciting lineup coming over the next few months. For Series 4 we have potentially the biggest LEGO robot field ever assembled, as 60 robots from across the country and beyond will fight it out to emulate Panic Attack, Waddle Dee and our reigning series champs Wobba and being a main series champion. Each heat will follow the same criteria as last year, with 5 robots consisting of 2 seeds, a returning competitor, an external robot and a rookie, some of which have qualified from our recent special. The points remain as they have done since Series 2, with 3 points for a KO, 2 points for a JD win and a point for a JD loss, although this year we are running to the BBB Subterranean Judging Guide, eliminating damage for weapon effectiveness. The guide will be in the description for those interested. As we have seen in the specials this year, the floor has been replaced, along with the pit button moving to the bottom of the arena for more risk to the competitors. But for the main series, a new hazard has joined the LEGO Wars arena in the screws, giving control bots an extra chance at a KO. At the end of each heat, the top 2 bots will progress into the bracket along with the 4 best third place finishers. The remaining 8 third place machines will be drawn at random into the play-ins to decide the final positions. With all that housekeeping in check, let's introduce the first 5 robots of the series.
First, from Manchester, seeded number 1, reigning champion, Wobba.
The axe-wielding Wobba was undefeated in the main series last year on the way to the title, and despite a wobble in the recent international, they'll still be favourites to win tonight.
From Edinburgh and seeded number 24, Mr. Wafflin.
The Breakfast Beast is somewhat underrated in LEGO Wars, but after some refinements to the frame, they should be able to deliver more damage from that deadly bacon bar.
From Northampton, White Hole.
The resident full-body spinner hasn't been firing on all cylinders since the heats last year, and looking at the lineups tonight, it's going to be tough for the former quarter-finalists to make it through.
From Titusville, Florida, Kraken.
This rookie machine has already showed some promise in our rookie special and could be something of a dark horse not only for the heat but for the series itself.
From Somerset, Bolts.
The first of 3 robots running mini-bots this series, Bolts has yet to deliver a dull fight in the arena, but like all big-wheeled robots, it'll need to avoid the pit to survive. Let's kick off Series 4 with Fight 1 between the champs Wobba and Bolts.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
And it's time to kick off the 4th series of LEGO Wars. Can you believe it's been 4 series already? I certainly can't. Anyway, we've got Bolts and his mini-bot Hangry versus the reigning champions, Wobba. Wobba attacking the arena sidewall with his hammer. That's not the objective, guys. That's a little bit better now. Going after Bolts. Hangry, the little wedge-shaped mini-bot, going in underneath now and pushing Wobba towards the screws. And that's a new arena hazard for this series of LEGO Wars. A little bit more on that later on. Down goes the pit, courtesy of Wobba, and they just flirt with danger but get away safely. Good driving there by Wobba. Oh, and brilliant tactics there. Managing to get around the side of Bolts and shove them down the pit. Hangry, meanwhile, still trying to attack Wobba. Guys, it's over. It's over. Bolts is down the pit. You are finished. Oh, the pit button being flicked over there. That's our arena hazard, boys. Stop destroying our arena. Oh, who am I kidding? It always happens. Hangry, it's all over. Your big brother is in the pit, and now you're getting your head smashed in by our reigning champion. Please, stop it. For goodness sake. Oh!
Cease.
There goes one of the eyes, and cease called. Well, that was certainly a wacky, zany, and fun-filled return to form. Hangry, I think, was the real MVP, really, on Bolts' side. Wobba avoiding the pit, using great tactics to get Bolts down. And then after that, had a little bit of fun with Hangry, pinning it against the arena side wall and hammering it hard with that hammer. Ouch.
A commanding performance from the defending champs to bounce Bolts down the pit. Let's see if Mr. Waffle can continue the glory for the seeds in their first fight against Kraken.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
Mr. Waffle, the number 24 seed for this series, gets its spinner up to speed and it has its serious face on it for this fight, so you know it means business. Kraken, though, is a tough opponent. Don't forget they won the Rookies Cup earlier this year. Bit of a stacked heat, this one. Good drive there by Kraken, pinning in Mr. Waffle now, getting that spinner stopped, and now bringing their spinner down and sort of holding it in place and pushing them into the screws. I mentioned them earlier on. They're designed really to sort of snag robots and lift them off the arena floor, really. That's basically their main idea. A bit like the arena spikes, but they actually do their job properly. At least That's what we hope they'll do. Kraken getting their spinner up to speed. Are we going to see the two spinners come into contact here? Or are we? No, we're not! Because Kraken has just launched its weapon belt out. Well, I guess that's his new weapon now. It's not a spinner, it's a launching device. Is that what it is? I guess so. Mr. Waffle's lost its face. No surprise there. And look at the pieces now littering the arena floor. Kraken does still have the ground clearance victory, though, here on Mr. Waffle, and has the superior pushing power by the looks of things. It's a very well-designed and very well-built machine, Kraken. I mean, it has to be. It did win the Rookies Championship after all. And now, using their weapon belt there to beach Mr. Waffle off the floor, I think. Yes, Mr. Waffle's struggling to move. Look, he's got that weapon belt trailing behind it, and that means they can push them down the pit. Great driving there by Kraken, and the number 24 seeds take a loss. Minor upset, that one. You'd think with their experience, Mr. Waffle would have the advantage, but they were absolutely minor upset there. You'd think with their experience, Mr. Waffle would have actually had a bit of a strong chance there against Kraken, but they got absolutely dominated by the Rookies Champions. Being pushed around, controlled easily. Yes, they did get rid of their own weapon belt, which was very, very, very stupid. But other than that, Kraken absolutely dominated that fight, controlling them around the arena and getting them down the pit.
With panels and chain pieces strewn across the floor, Kraken takes the win to move joint top. Now it's Whitehole's chance to start their campaign with a tough ask against Wobba.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1, activate.
I mentioned earlier on this heat was a stacked heat, and that's not even mentioning Whitehole yet. Very, very dangerous, very deadly spinner. Unseeded this series after an underwhelming performance last year, but it is still a very destructive robot and one to be feared. Wobba has lost its front protective face, but then again, that always happens. The main story, of course, is that big, meaty scoop wedge at the front, which they say can deflect any spinner that they face this time around, bringing the hammer down there on top of Whitehole, driving in, trying to stop that spinner from spinning up to full speed. Doing a good job so far. Whitehole driving into the side wall, not the greatest of control. Then again, it's never really been a well-controlled robot, has it? Whitehole getting up to speed now. Is that wise of Wobba to allow that to happen? Wobba, of course, the reigning champions, heavily favoured to go all the way again this time around. It's a very well-built machine. They had a very good run in the All-Stars tournament as well. Didn't quite live up to its potential in the World or the International Championship, and the pit is failing and failing miserably. 1 year, I'm sure we'll get it right. There we go. Third time was indeed the charm for Wobba. Now, being honest, Whitehole were a bit silly there. They had plenty of a chance there to attack Wobba, and they didn't. And now they are paying for it, being pinned in against the arena sidewall and against those screws. Will we see the screws come into action here? No. Whitehole able to get away. Oh, very nearly pushed down the pit there, but good evasive driving there by Whitehole. The good thing about a full-body spinner like that is that you can spin your shell and sort of wriggle away from your opposition. It is a very good design. The only real issue is it does lack control, and in a battle like this, they are kind of screwed, really, because Wobba's front is a complete advantage against this kind of machine. They have to try and get round the back of them and try and get to those wheels, but as mentioned, Wobba, a very well-controlled robot, Whitehole, not so much, although saying that, they've used good control to stay away and avoid the pit so far. Now in at the side, but they weren't spinning up, so they couldn't do any damage. And I'm just wondering if that spinner is working now at this point. I think the body was spinning around there for a little bit. I'm not too sure. Can Whitehole get an advantage here? Wobba can't really do much to them either. Should really bring the hammer down, and does. Getting some good aggression points there. Weapon effectiveness, certainly. We haven't really seen Whitehole's weapon do much apart from remove that sort of, I guess you could say, sacrificial piece of front armour that so many robots have in LEGO Wars. I say that because a lot of them do. Oh my goodness me! Whitehole nearly went down, and Wobba very nearly went down after it as well. Very good evasive driving by both machines that have saved themselves from the pit of oblivion. Wobba, for me, certainly in control here, and Whitehole once again on the verge, but again surviving somehow. But they are on the lip of oblivion. Can they get away? Can they survive? We're in the final 10 seconds. They've got 8 seconds to survive. I think they're going to do it. Wobba, they're not going to get a hold of him now and get them down the pit. There's not enough time. Good work there by Whitehole to stay out of danger. It's going to go to the judges. I'm not too sure if it's going to be too difficult for them. Let's see the highlights and find out. Wobba certainly was the more aggressive throughout and the more controlled, and being honest, I think it had the more effective weapon. Whitehole did try, but they certainly struggled to really get any meaningful attacks in. Wobba able to outpush and outmaneuver them. And being honest, Whitehall, towards the end of that fight, were toast. Agrobber did all the main work for me, and surely have won it. Though Agrobber did nearly go down the pit, not once, but twice in that one. Will that count against it? Only time will tell, I guess. I'm not a judge, and there's a reason for that.
And the winner, by unanimous decision, is Agrowobba. Despite not getting the killing blow, Agrowobba delivers another dominant display and looks in a commanding position tonight. Next up is Kraken's chance to double up against Bolts.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Time for a tussle between two mean green fighting machines. Kraken versus Bolts, and Bolts have already lost some of their weaponry. One of those two flailing arms has been ripped away straight away, but the other one has managed to take off Kraken's weapon belt. That is 2 fights in a row that's happened in this heat alone. Kraken once again left without a weapon. It was a recurring issue for them in the Rookies Cup as well, don't forget, and now they're pinning Hangry against Uniform while Bolts does, does nothing, really. Come on, help your little brother out. What are you doing? Why is Hangry doing all the work for Bolts here? What is Bolts actually doing? I don't actually get what's going on here, to be honest. Kraken trying to use its sort of weird, well, I guess you could say arm head. I don't really know what to do, to be honest, what to call it. But they're using it. Oh, Kraken! Very nearly driving into the pit after releasing the pit release button. They're trying to use their head as a sort of weird grabbing, chopping arm. Not really doing a very good job of it so far. Pinning Hangry against the arena sidewall once again, whilst Bolts once again spins around and aimlessly does nothing. I'm not really too sure what they're trying to do here, but they've been sent down into the abyss once again. Kraken get another 3 points in this. Oh, Hangry nearly went in the pit. How on earth did Hangry survive that? How did Hangry survive? They are the real MVP of Heat A, I'm almost certain of it. Oh, down comes the big hitter there of Kraken. It's not a spinner, let's be honest. It spun twice and both times it's broke, so yes. Bolts is out. Hangry just messing around, really, being sent down the abyss. And Kraken get another 3 points. Damage was instantly done to Bolts there. Look, that was a really good attack from that spinner of Kraken, but then the belt came off, and Hangry did all the work for Bolts after that. Bolts just span around aimlessly. Hangry did all the major attacks and took all the major punishment, really. Kraken released the pit, nearly threw itself down, before eventually getting Bolts into it, and then cleaned up the rubbish and got rid of Hangry as well. Great fun.
Back-to-back KOs for the deep-sea creature sends them above Agrowobba at the top of the table. Next up it's double W's with Whitehole and Mr. Waffle.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
A battle of the two deadly horizontals, Mr. Waffle versus Whitehole. Whitehole has been by far the more successful of these two machines, although last season Whitehole was the inferior machine, didn't get as far as Mr. Waffle, hence Mr. Waffle's seeding, but the bacon bar spinner has already been removed from the top. This is the kind of damage we expect to see from Whitehole. We haven't really seen it in recent performances. Are we finally going to see the destructive machine that once pulled apart, quite literally, Flashover back in the Series 2 qualifiers, the machine that tore its way to the top 8 place in Series 2 of LEGO Wars. Mr. Waffle going for the pit button, so they still must be relatively confident that they can get Whitehole down the pit. They've certainly got the superior pushing power, pushing Whitehole into the arena sidewall. Whitehole avoiding the pit, but not for long!
6.
Sent down into the pit by Mr. Waffle. Well, that was a very, very quick, very, very frantic fight full of pretty much everything, really. Good driving, control, apart from there by Whitehole, and lots of damage and destruction too. Whitehole, for me, was certainly on top, doing all the real major damage and destruction, but Whitehole end up in our black hole. Yeesh.
Despite some airborne bacon, it's the 24 seeds who get the 3 points at the halfway stage. Next up, it's a battle at the top of the table with Agrowobba and Kraken.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
The two undefeated machines in this heat so far, Agrowobba, our reigning champions, number 1 seed, versus Kraken, the winner of the Rookies Cup earlier on. Agrowobba loses its face. Kraken has lost a back panel. Its spinner has lasted the longest it has so far in a fight. It hasn't killed itself. It hasn't spit its own weapon belt out. Could we see a major upset here? It is pinning Agrowobba against the arena sidewall and into those screws, and that's what the screws are meant to do. The screws are meant to snag robots and pluck them up into the air. The pit button has been pressed by Kraken. So if Agrabah can free itself, Kraken are confident they can get the reigning champions down the pit. And I think they could be done with. We could be seeing a huge surprise. Kraken is taking serious punishment courtesy of the hammer of Wobba, but they are stuck on the screws. And they're being counted down here. They've got 5 seconds to get themselves free, or they are out. 2, 1. Wobba counted out. Immobile, the reigning champions, losing via KO, and Kraken secure another 3 points. Huge upset there. Kraken did not let up and did not give Wobba time to breathe. Wobba certainly did damage with the hammer. Look, you can see the damage under those top panels, the back panel as well. But Kraken, with superior control and superior driving, were able to get Wobba up on the screws. They couldn't get down from there. And that was all she wrote for the reigning champions. What a surprise.
The Screws claim their first victim, and what a scalp it is as Wobba's main series streak comes to an end as Kraken secures first place in the heat. Mr. Waffle and Bolts are next up, knowing a defeat for the latter will knock them out of contention.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Will the bacon bar spinner cause damage? Will Bolt actually stay out of the pit this time? Will Hangry once again be the main player for Team Bolts? Damage being done to Bolt straight away, courtesy of the bar spinner of the number 24 series, Mr. Waffle. Now going after Hangry, seeing if they can do damage to Hangry, but Hangry using its wedge to pry their wheels off the arena floor. Why is Hangry so good? I don't understand it. There's more damage done there to the weaponry of Bolt. What? What? What happened there? I think going up the front wedge of Mr. Waffle caused him to pry Mr. Waffle's top plate into its own spinner, causing it to spontaneously combust itself. Bit weird, but okay. Hey, it was a viable tactic. Hangry is now upside down, but it's been righted. What on earth? Why was it righted? Why was it righted? What are you doing, Mr. Waffle? You're helping your opponent out here. Bolts. Oh my goodness me, did you see that? Bolts actually attacked his opponent. Bolts actually attacked Mr. Waffle. You saw it here first. You heard it here first. Stop the friggin' presses. This is front page news. Bolts trying to hit the pit button, but missed. Can they get a second attack on it? No, once again missing. Hangry's been beached and is being attacked by Mr. Waffle. What's going on here? What? How am I supposed to commentate on this? Has Bolts completely died here? I think so. No, it's okay. He got bowled over there by Mr. Waffle. And
6.
Up in the pit. Oh, for goodness sake. Well, I like to say I'm surprised, but I'm truly not. Bolts out down the pit once again, and Hangry trying to fight for its big brother. And actually doing a pretty good job there, pushing back Mr. Waffle, but Mr. Waffle pushing Hangry back now as well. Trying to take off the other eyebrow. They lost one eye on one side and one eyebrow the other. Now the arena spikes coming in and pinning Hangry off the arena floor. One last hit from Mr. Waffle, the winners of this battle. That was absolute insanity from Activate to Cease. Bolts losing both of its weapons almost instantly. Hangry managing to cause the biggest amount of damage of the entire fight there against Mr. Waffle. Mr. Waffle using good driving to bowl Bolts over, and Bolts then threw itself down the pit. Because why not?
Another pitting for the flail bot sends Bolts out of the competition as Mr. Waffle overtakes Wobba in the standings. Next up, it's Kraken's chance to emulate Bricker in Series 2 and secure a perfect score against the so far underwhelming White Hole.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
So far in the standings, Kraken have already managed to secure themselves a spot in the bracket at the end of this series. Even Wobba haven't managed to do that so far. That just shows you how good they are. Meanwhile, White Hole! Currently, with only 1 point, they are very much in the danger zone. But finally, we're seeing that spinner do the damage we know it can do. One of the side panels of Kraken has already been ripped away. That leaves those wheels exposed, but Kraken using its good pushing power and its good ground clearance at the front of the machine to pin White Hole into the corner. White Hole was able to get away though. Good driving now. Once again, they're being pushed in towards the pit release button, but Kraken reversing over the edge. They've got 2 wheels, and they are a sitting duck now for White Hole to come in. White Hole bringing themselves up to speed, coming in for one huge hit. Surely, no, maybe, perhaps. Yep, there it is. It wasn't a massive hit, was it? Ah!
6.
Kraken topple down. And Whitehole secure 3 points. Hey, hang on. Caesar's called. That loss won't worry Kraken there. Still definitely through to the bracket, finishing this heat with 9 points. Whitehole finally managed to get a KO victory, causing damage there to the side of Kraken. Other than that, though, that fight was all Kraken, really. They were able to pin Whitehole, push them around, but then they foolishly got themselves stuck on the edge of the pit. And after a little bit of a hit from Whitehole, they sent themselves down. Will that be enough points for Whitehole to stay in the competition?
No perfect cards for Kraken tonight as Whitehole plays themselves back into contention, and all of a sudden the champs are in danger of not progressing. Whitehole will still need a win in their final fight, but with bolts so far pointless, Wobba could be in big trouble.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Bolts, we know, are toast. They are out. They will hopefully gain some consolation points here, though, against Whitehole. Though, being honest, I very much doubt it. Hangry getting a little bit of a love tap there from Whitehole, who is coming in now for a shot on Bolts, doing some damage to one of those flails. Oh, taking off the face of Hangry. Bits and pieces flying everywhere. If Whitehole can get a KO victory here, that will bring them up to 7 points total on the board, which may be enough to get them a spot in the bracket at the end of the series. Although, Hangry holding them over the pit. Can Bolts take advantage of this moment? They've tried to hit the pit 3 times now and it's failed all 3 times. Whitehole has been released and the pit finally goes down just as Whitehole get away. How on earth did Whitehole survive there? That was terrible control from Bolts. They really should have had a win there. It would have been a big surprise, actually, if they managed to get 3 points against Whitehole. It would have been a huge upset, but it didn't happen. Now trying to bring in that flail once again as Hangry gets underneath Whitehole once again. Whitehole is being taken out here by a mini-bot of all things. Come on, guys. You just beat Kraken for crying out loud. Oh, why am I trying to bring logic into this? Bolts coming in and doing nothing. I think Hangry stuck underneath Whitehole. Now finally free. Trying to get that wedge underneath the ground clearance again and keep that spinner at bay. Bolts spinning around madly and aimlessly over there like it always does, really. Hangry now pushing Whitehole into the screws. But Whitehole able to get away. Bolts slamming on the anchor there. Finally showing some control around the pit!
6.
And Whitehole dumped down the pit by Hangry! And Bolts have somehow secured 3 points! How the hell did they do that? Do you believe in miracles? I certainly do now. Whitehole caused a little bit of damage to Bolts early on and to the face of Hangry. But then after that, Hangry was doing a very good job of controlling Whitehole. Bolts was doing a very good job of doing absolutely nothing. Hangry controlled Whitehole around the arena, got underneath it a few times, and then eventually sunk it down the pit.
A huge sigh of relief for the champs as Hangry and to a lesser extent Bolts beat Whitehole to send the full body spinner out of the competition, leaving the seeds to fight it out. Let's see if Wobba can celebrate their escape by beating Mr. Waffle.
Roboteers, stand by. 3, 2, 1. Activate.
Final battle of the first heat of this series of LEGO Wars, and as usual we see the 2-seeded machines fight it out. Wobba, number 1 seeds, reigning champions, versus Mr. Waffle, seeded number 24, the lowest seed of this series, but an effective machine nonetheless. Good action here early on, courtesy of Wobba, getting that hammer down and hitting the bacon bar spinner. Both robots' faces have come off already. Remember, Mr. Waffle currently stands with 6 points, Wobba only standing with 5, which is a big surprise, being honest. They are our reigning champions, don't forget. Expected to win this series, expected to go far, but they are currently sitting below Mr. Waffle. A good win here for either machine will secure them a place in the bracket. The loser of this fight, meanwhile, will have a chance of redemption later on down the line in this series. But for me, Wobba certainly on top at the moment. They've been the more aggressive, they've been the more controlled machine. Their weapons certainly been the more effective as well. So as long as they can stay out of danger and stay out of trouble, they should really have a chance here and making themselves a space in that bracket with Kraken. Kraken, of course, the first machine to get into the bracket. They were very impressive in this heat, losing only 1 fight and winning 3 fights by a KO, don't forget. Could be one to watch out for later on in the tournament. Wobba using that front scoop of theirs to good effect, although for a minute there, I thought Mr. Waffle was going to be able to get up to speed and take out one of the wheels. Didn't manage to do so. Damage being done to the top of Mr. Waffle now, courtesy of Wobba. Wobba, though, being pushed back. Now, that's some good pushing power there by Mr. Waffle. Look there. Look at that for traction on the arena floor. Both machines pushing with all might. I think Mr. Waffle just won that one. That little sumo shove and push. Agrowobba trying to get that hammer into an effective position where it could do some serious, meaningful damage to Mr. Waffle. Mr. Waffle with a good push there again on Agrowobba. Agrowobba now reversing. What are they doing?
6.
Agrowobba throwing themselves down the pit. Oh dear. And just like that, Mr. Waffle finds itself in the brackets at the end of this series, and Agrowobba, our reigning champions, find themselves fighting for contention later on. I don't even know what happened. Agrowobba, aggressive, controlled throughout the fight, certainly. It had a very effective weapon. It did the more damage to its opponent. It definitely seemed to be on a way to a bracket for me, certainly. And then they go and throw themselves down the pit. Why?
And that receiver malfunction for the champs allows Mr. Waffle to secure a hat-trick of wins and second place tonight. It's been an energetic start to the series as Kraken continues their rookies winning performances to upstage the seeds. Meanwhile, Agrowobba will have to hold out over the next few weeks to see if they have to qualify via the play-ins. That's all for tonight, but join us next week as the third seeds Petunia start their campaign alongside the flipping 22 seeds Bricker Brother. For now though, I've been your host David Smeg, and we'll see you in the next one.